Good morning and welcome. My name is Blake and I'm the youth pastor here at the church at SwanMead. I want to welcome you to today's message. I want to welcome you to mine and my lovely wife Naomi's home. Thank you for being with us today. Today we're going to be talking about relationships and why they matter. And why do they matter more than importantly now in the season that we are in? And I thought to start this message off, I was going to look up the dictionary definition of relationships, but then I thought I've been completely and utterly dependent upon my devices, so I thought, why stop now? I'm going to ask Siri what the dictionary definition is, so let's give it a go. Siri, what's the dictionary definition of relationships, please?
Relationship means the way in which two or more people or things are connected, or the state of being connected.
Thank you. So Siri's saying to us here is that the way in which two or more people are connected, or a state of being connected. Now I love this so much because there's two things that comes to mind here. When two or more people are connected, do not think this is just a thing for couples, boyfriend, girlfriend, husbands and wife. It's about people. We are all built for relationship. So this is for everyone, whether it be family, community, friends, family, anything. We're all built for relationship. And the second thing was this, connection. Relationship, when you boil it down, is connection. We need to be plugged in. We need to be connected with one another. God built the body. God built the church. The church is the body of Christ. That we need each other to be connected. And that's just built in our human DNA. And even off the bat, when you read the Bible, in the beginning of Genesis, God created Adam and the world and he had everything, but yet something was still not quite right. He needed someone, and God realized this, and the Bible says that it's not good for man to be alone, so he gave him Eve. So we know even straight off the bat in the Bible, we were built for connection. So, without further ado, I want to dive into three key things here about healthy relationships and why they matter. The first one is this: a healthy relationship makes me healthy. Very simple. If you have healthy people around you who are healthy when it comes to not just what they eat, but maybe what they do, how they see life, how their outviews on situations, their good character, if you hang around with people like that, it will start to rub off you. Whether you believe it or not, we are almost a sum total of who the people are around us. So the people that you do life with, you speak with, you evidently start to morph into them. And a great example of this is when I was living out in China. I did life with a lot of Chinese, but outside of that circle, I did a lot of connection with Westerners, a lot of people from the West, from Europe, but predominantly most of them from the US. So when I did a lot of life with a lot of Americans out there, I ended up picking up a little bit of American twang, or changing some of my words or phrases that I'd normally say, like trousers, pants, candy, sweets. And I didn't realise it until another British guy came in a year into my trip out there, and he didn't know where I was from. And I said, I'm from the UK, obviously. And he was like, well, no, you don't sound like it. And when I was conscious of it, immediately my tone, my pronunciation, all went back to default to English. Oh, there it is, there you are. And I didn't even realise I was doing it because I was hanging around people who spoke of a different accent and used different words to I do. So we are a sum total of those who are around us. Yes, we have God, we have the Bible, we have other things in our lives that create us and mould us in who we are, but the people around us do affect who we are. And I want to home in on a couple of verses just to kind of crystallise what we're saying here. And it says here in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 33, it says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." Now I like this because it's very simple stuff. When you hang around with bad company, when you do life and have friends around you who are part of your inner circle, who are bad, who are negative, all they do is just speak about the worst of the situation. Maybe you've got people now during this corona pandemic that we are in that are just thinking the worst. They're just saying the worst. They're watching the news. They're reading people's opinions on Facebook, and then they're reacting and responding to those things of, oh my goodness, my life is a mess. Everything's going wrong. We're going to die. It could be me next. Could be you next. And then you start to feed off them like, oh my word, this is quite a serious situation. And yes, this is a serious situation that we are in. But if we follow guidelines and if we trust in our God, because just on a side note with this whole situation, the world may have changed, but the Bible remains the same. God's promises will never be expired, altered, or delayed because of a pandemic. So have courage, have faith. If you lean in God in these seasons, you follow the guidelines, God will be with you. We will come out the other side of this, and this will just be something of history. So, I just wanted to just pinpoint that a little bit there for you guys. Bad company corrupts good character. So what's the opposite side to that? Good company creates good character. If you hang around with those people who make you feel good, who lift you up, who bring you closer to God, you know you are around good company. So as I go into these, put in your head right now and think about who are those people in my inner circle. Because don't get me wrong, those of your outer circle, we are called to go out into the world to share Christ to all. And the world is full of different types of people. So it doesn't mean you now exclude yourself from the world. It's who are my inner circle? Who are those people that I share my heart with, that I share my intimate thoughts with? Are they people that are going to help build my character? Are they going to just bring those things down? Other one is this. In Proverbs 13 verses 20 it says, walk with the wise and become wise, for their companion of fools suffers harm. If you want to be wise, if you want to be more in who God has called you to be, if you want to be going further than you ever have in certain areas of your life, you will be around people of wisdom in those areas. If you want to be like, I want to be deeper in my relationship with God, I want to understand God's call for my life, be around people who have those things in their life or discovering that are going on that journey, because it will bring your thoughts align with that. The wise, walk with the wise and become wise. And the second part of that, it says, for the companion of fools suffers harm. If you do life and have friends and hang out with people that all you do is moan and talk about the negative things of life and talk about the pandemic and how it's all going to kill us all, and just talk about just purely how negative things are. And if you find yourself feeding into that thought life as well, where you start to create a companion of fools, where you're talking about, yeah, I'm going to die because of this pandemic. You're totally right, we're all going to die. It's only a matter of time. Armageddon, the end is nigh. What are we going to do? If you start going down that road with people, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as that, but it could be something as simple as, I ain't going to forgive that person. They've hurt me. And your friend says to you, yeah, they don't deserve your forgiveness. You know what? Forget that person. Just ignore them. Just ghost them. Just ignore them in your life entirely. Companion of fools suffers harm. You start to damage that character that you're wanting to build if you hang around and have your intimate life, your intimate thoughts with people like that. Now, I've got a couple of questions I just want to highlight with these two things that I've just been talking about here, and it's this. Are the people I do life with, that I have friends with, do they do these three things? The first one is this. The people I do life with, do they build me up, maintain me, or pull me down? And the reason why I say this is that because there are three types of people that you can have in your inner circle. Those who build you up, those who sit there and speak life into you, those that when you're friends with them, when you're doing life with them, that you walk away, you feel closer to God. You feel good about yourself. You feel stronger. You feel more focused in who you are. Every time I'm with that person, they make me feel like this. They make me feel like I can do anything. I can do all things through Christ. Or are they people that maintain you in a sense of you just do life? It's not going negative. It's not going positive. You're just cruising with this person. You're just hanging out. You're just talking. There's no negative. There's no positive. It's just neutral. But I want to tell you, even relationships like that, if they're in your inner circle, ones that you need to review and look at, because longevity of a relationship, it needs to eventually be building each other up. Like me and my wife, we are on a continuous journey of trying to build each other up. My team within Epic, my friends, we want to be always encouraging, building and lifting each other up, that we become each other's benchmark in moving forward. If you're just maintaining and hanging out, as an example, I bumped into a friend of mine a while ago when I was a teenager. That person is exactly who they were when I first met them. Still got long hair, baggy jeans, big massive loops in their ears, still doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And I'm like, this person back then was a great friend of mine that I did life with, but now we're on two different levels. That would not only be maintaining, putting myself down and not bringing them up. So I knew that person could not be someone of my inner circle. So I just wanted to get those thoughts in your head for you as well with people in your life. Now the final one is this, on this first one, it says, do the people I do life with pull me down? When you are with this person or when you're with these group of people, do you leave them feeling like a part of you has just been left to the side? Do you feel like after seeing them, your character is a little bit more lessened or a little bit more corrupted, in a sense of you start to say certain things that you wouldn't normally say? You start to look at the opposite sex the way that you know God has not intended you to look at that person. Do you hang with those people and start to see people in a little bit more of a darker light? Now I highlight these things because I want to help you to differentiate, I can't get that word out, of the different types of people in our lives. Does this person build me up? Do they maintain me? Or do they make me feel less of a person? Do they push me down? Do they use me as a building block to make them feel great? You can have friends in your life that look down upon you, say negative things to you to remind you that you're there and they're here. Straight away off the bat, that is someone who you should not be doing life with, because they are not speaking truth into you. They're doing it for their own gain, and eventually that will break off and you will be the person picking up the pieces at the end of that. And I highlight these three things here because in the Bible it says in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 11, it says, therefore encourage one another and build each other up. We were called, when it comes to our connection, to be continuously encouraging and building one another up. Now, if you're like me, I like a bit of banter. I like to have a bit of a joke with my friends, and we might just knock each other down just as a little bit of a friendly joke. But if that is just the surface level of what my friendship is, I'm damaging them and myself. If beneath the surface there, we actually go a little bit deeper and we're actually in our heart of hearts. Do you know what? I really believe you can do all things through Christ. You know what? I really feel when you said this about your walk with God, I'm going to pray for you in that. Or I want to be able to go to my friends and say, you know what? I'm struggling with this. Blake, I've got your shoulder, man. Let's pray into this together. If you don't have that in your friendship, I want you to know it needs to be lining up with this verse. Encourage one another. Build each other up. That's what we are called to do as church. Now, the second thing I want to highlight is this, that when you start to have the right people around you and you start to build in your relationship with God and you go further in who God has called you to be, then you start to see a glimpse of why God is creating you in this way, why you have these type of relationships, why has God placed these people around me, because you start to get a hint of the purposes and the plans that God has for your life and those relationships in life. Because the second thing is this, when I am healthy, people grow around me. And the best way I can describe this is a verse that's been the cornerstone of my direction with God. And it says here in Hebrews chapter 12, verses 12 to 13, it says this, and there's two things I want to highlight. It says, therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Make level paths for your feet, so the lame will not be disabled, but rather healed. And I'm going to break this up and just kind of help to explain what this is saying here. It says here, first of all, therefore, strengthen your weak arms and feeble knees. When you do a relationship with God, when you have a relationship with the right people around you, what God is saying here is, therefore, strengthen your weak arms and feeble knees. Become stronger. Become more in who I have called you to be. Be someone of a good character who hangs around with the wise. I'm equipping and preparing you for this. And this is in the next part of this chapter. In chapter 13 it says, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. God is not building you up just to make you feel good. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that God does this stuff because God says things to me that makes me become more, makes me feel more in who I am and what my purpose is. But he also does it because there is a world around you, there are relationships around you that need the person God has wired in you to be. So when we start to grow in who we start to, and I love this verse because it says about you make level paths for your feet. You become stable. You start to walk on solid ground. You're not tripping and going around in circles in your life. You're moving forward. But as you do that, there is a pavement being crafted behind you as you are walking. Because there are people in your life, whether you have the leadership title or not, you are already leading them. Whether it be your family, whether it be your friends, whether it be those younger than you, consciously or subconsciously, they follow, they listen, they are looking. As you start to make the right decisions, as you start to go further in your walk with God, that path becomes straight, and they ultimately will start to walk upon your path. Now, I'm not a parent, but I understand the principle is if that I start to raise my children, if you start to raise your children, those of you who have kids already, and you start to put basic principles in place in your life, your kids are going to start to follow you. Your kids are going to start to do what you do, say what you say. Monkey see, monkey do, as we know. So we realise that as we start to build, this is not about just me. We realise there is a bigger plan, there is a wider scheme that God has for this kingdom, for this earth, with you in mind, with you involved. So that's why I highlight, have the right people around you. It's critical that you have people that build you, grow you and lift you up to the point where you are able to do the same for them and those around you. Because we are built to create a path so those who are disabled will be healed. For those who don't know how to do life, for those who don't know what it is to have a relationship with God, or how to have the right character, or how to respond to pandemics or crises, because they've never seen it modelled properly. And I'm challenging you to have the right people in your life so that you can model what it is. And the ultimate model we know is Jesus. If you start to follow who Jesus is and who God has called around you, you start to mould yourself and become the person that we are called to be. And when we grow and focus on who Jesus calls us to be, we will then start to get fulfilled and find the purpose of what has called us to be. And I get excited about this because when you start to go on this journey, God starts to put in you certain things that you never thought you would be hungry for. You never thought that you would have a purpose in. 10 years ago, I never thought I'd be a youth pastor. I never thought I would travel to the other side of the world to share the gospel in Asia and other parts of the world. I never thought I'd be those things. I never was a big fan of traveling. I was never a big fan of young people. My wife, before we were together, she always had a heart for mission, always had a heart for going overseas. And in my infancy of my faith, she asked me about overseas stuff. And I remember saying to her, God has called me to Basildon. I'm Basildon alone. I'm never going to leave here. And evidently, months go by. She comes around and asks, "Hey, how's Blake? Where's he at? Oh, he's in China right now. Oh, is he now? The guy who said he's just going to stay in Basildon." I say this because for you, you're going to start to get a taster for things that you never knew you would have a taster for, that you never knew you'd be called to be doing. And I just wanted to encourage you on by saying that. And ultimately, all of this boils down to this one part of the Bible that I want to share with you, which is the why. Why have the right relationships? Why do this stuff? Why do these things? And it says here in John chapter 15, verses 12 to 17. Follow with me here. John 15, 12 to 17. It says, "My command is this: love each other as I have loved you." This is Jesus talking to you. "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends. If you do what I command, I no longer call you my servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I've called you friends. For everything that I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I have chosen you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last, so that whenever you ask anything in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command. Love each other. Now there's so much there that I want to unpack on this verse, but I want to highlight the very end of it, and it says here, this is my command. He talks about being a friend, but this is the one thing he commands. Love each other. We are called to love each other. Love is the greatest weapon we have in the pandemic that we're in. Pandemic creates fear, it creates worry. Love conquers fear. When we start to love each other, see each other the way Christ sees each other, be who we are called to be, so that we can love them further and do more for them, even more than we could imagine on our own. We are doing what God has called us to do, is to love each other. And I think that's amazing, because that's what it's about. That's why we do what we do. We do this because love is the greatest weapon we have in these seasons, even beyond this season. The greatest weapon we have is to love one another. And I want to encourage you that when you start to go on this journey of having the right relationships around you, to have the right people that help mold and build who you are, then you start to become more that God has called you to be. So to summarize, healthy relationships make a healthy me. Think about those people that you have within your inner circle. Do they build you up, maintain you, or pull you down? If you have the right people in your world, you will go further in your walk with God. You will be molded by the right people that help you and propel you forward into the journey God has for you. And the other one is, when I am healthy, people grow around me. When you start to get the right people in your life, when you start to position yourself with the right input, with the right people, you start to be molded and shaped in who God has called you to be. And when we start to do that, we are able to love each other, be more for each other, and be who Christ has called us to be in this world. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being with me today, for being in our home. I pray that you be blessed, you stay safe, and I'll see you guys soon.